The experts we spoke to think that a diplomatic solution to the Korean crisis is still possible, despite the fact that the U.S. is pushing tougher measures against Pyongyang.
I think that they wanted some action to be taken, and they knew that China and I believe also Russia would not go along with what that draft was. That was really a recipe for extinction for North Korea. Korea has also said that if there's a peace treaty signed between them and the United States, and there's a halt to those maneuvers, that they would suspend nuclear and missile tests. But the United States has brushed this off as absolutely unthinkable. And so I think that's the real reason that we have an ongoing crisis.
So, what you have here is basically Nikki Haley having initially distributed the most extreme set of sanctions, perhaps even historically. This latest round of sanctions, which was supposed to be extremely hard-hitting, but instead reflected the influence of both Russia and China in pushing for diplomacy, actually signals a possibility. And even though things have gotten about as grim as they possibly could with regard to U.S. policy toward North Korea, there is a rational pathway at hand.
Now, following the adoption of the resolution, Russia and China reiterated their call for a double freeze plan on North Korea, mentioned just a bit earlier by the correspondent. Under the plan, Pyongyang would stop its nuclear and ballistic missile tests. In return, America and South Korea would stop their joint military exercises. And ahead of the vote, the North Korean leader warned that Washington would pay a price if its tougher draft resolution was passed. RT correspondent Anna Parampil reports from Seoul.
Considering this sanctions resolution passed by the UN Security Council is the toughest to date concerning North Korea's ballistic missile and nuclear weapons program, Pyongyang is furious. Before the vote even took place, the government issued a very harsh statement warning they will act tough on the, quote, U.S. gangsters, and promised pain and suffering.
The forthcoming measures to be taken by the DPRK will cause the U.S. the greatest pain and suffering it has ever gone through in its entire history.
Now, to get some perspective on the government in Pyongyang, I spoke with a member of the National Assembly here in Seoul.
They saw Libya, and Iraq collapsed. They think they collapsed because they don't have any nuclear weapons. If they have nuclear weapons, the United States were hesitant to invade them, especially Iraq. Because they have nuclear weapons, they think U.S. will hesitate to invade them. That's their thinking.
Despite much talk out of Seoul underscoring their commitment to a diplomatic solution, this week it was announced by opposition lawmakers they will include a request for U.S. tactical nukes in their 2018 budget proposal. I asked Mr. Ha if he supported this action and how it would make Koreans safer.
Tactical nuclear weapons, they wanna have inside South Korea territory, but one obstacle is Chinese disagreement. China even thought China is putting some kind of economic sanctions against South Korea. South Korean economy cannot survive it.
This week, a delegation of opposition lawmakers from Seoul will head to Washington, where they will likely make this request for tactical nuclear weapons. China is on the record saying such an act would be a red line, as they're staunchly against the presence of nuclear weapons on the Korean peninsula. So if such an action is to be carried out by the Trump administration, it would surely only inflame tensions further. In Seoul, Anna Parampil, RT.